Hey there, YouTube, it's Petey Two Finger, and I just finished this pedal. It's an 83 TB. It has a power jack here, which is actually an output. So on the inside of this pedal is a lithium ion power pack, which will enable me to power another pedal. Both of these circuits are extremely low. There's no battery in this. Both of these circuits are extremely low current draw. So, and I just put the back on this like I just finished this, but I have pictures of the gut shot, so we'll go over all that in detail. But I wanted to show you how, well, number one of the things that I like to build into my builds is a safety for the power, where the power shuts itself off when you disconnect the jack. That way it'll say it's a battery saver. So this is a Greg Fry 83 treble boost, and it can be run more of a full range than so much like a Range Master treble booster. That's like the one that people are into treble boosters really love the most. It's germanium. They hiss, and they just completely kill your mids and your low your bass. This is something, the 83 TB is something that Brian May had built for him in order to solve some of the issues that he had, that he wasn't so crazy about his Range Masters. So in my I hate to say tone chasing, but there isn't a better word. Earlier, when I was a kid, when I was younger, I played with a big muff, cranked with a mid-scoop DQ. And then, I had read articles by a guy named Craig Anderton where he talked about guitar players getting older, gaining down, appreciating finer gear. Like, you get older, you get a good job, you get money, so you buy a nicer guitar, you buy a nicer amp. And then you realize, this pedal, this big muff, like any guitar I plug into it sounds the same. So you start to realize, and maybe you'll start using boost pedals instead of distortions. And now I'm seeing this is like more of, there's other players. Of course, people are doing this. Once you figure out that dirt pedals are pretty much like for kids in their bedroom, and I hate to say that, and I say that with love for the kid in his bedroom. When you're a kid and you buy the guitar and you plug it into the amp and you go, why doesn't it sound like my Metallica album? That's why I bought the guitar. It was like and then you go to Guitar Center and the guy will explain to you, well, this case here with the $150 to $400 pedals, you need to buy a bunch of that stuff to get your guitar to sound like that. So I split my signal, my guitar. I have a Strat with a humbucker, and I use a really low capacitor value for that humbucker. So when I turn my tone all the way down on my bridge pickup, it's just shaving off the top, and you actually get a cocked-wah sound. And if you pair that with like a rectifier, a high gain type thing, you get this violin sound that's it's really sweet. Really sweet. So I fell in love with using boost pedals. I came to realize that you have to take the good with the bad. Okay, so there's no way around the pros and cons of the germanium Range Master. It's going to hiss when you're tuning. you can hear the hiss. In a full band situation with everything full throttle, you're not going to hear the hiss. Okay, so you kind of got to use the force and ignore that. But it's also going to completely eliminate all your bass frequencies and some of your mids. So my solution for this, and I realize this isn't smart for everybody, but I use multiple boost pedals. I'll have another boost just after the Rangemaster that is a bassy boost or a mid-range. MIDI, hey, GR700, right? No, GR50. GR700 didn't have many. The 83 TB was built in 1983 by Greg Fry, I think, for Brian May. Brian May was a Rangemaster guy. He had his Vox AC30, which I don't go for Brian May tone. My tone is much cleaner. And when I do a high gain sound, it's a little different. I've been using more modern amplifier sounds for that. But this particular pedal, like I said, it's a BC239, which is a silicon. Is it a MOSFET? I'm going to have to look that up. This is a much more of a full range. So I built this and I was like, well, it's not doing that thing where it completely kills the bass and the mid, and I wanted that because my whole thing was pairing multiple boosts. At the time I was building a triple boost, which is 3 boost pedals in one thing, the treble boost, a mid boost, and a bass boost. So you could, like, if you're on the bridge pickup, you would run the treble boost with the bass boost because the bridge pickup doesn't really have much bass. If you go to the neck, there is excess bass, so you could switch over to the mid boost and really sculpt the sound more, keep things more balanced. And I love that triple boost pedal. I'm basically just experimenting with all kinds of different boosts and seeing what sticks. I already know I love the Rangemaster. I love it paired with an EP boost that's modified for extended low frequency response. That's a phenomenal sound. And if you look at the guys who were using a Strat with a Rangemaster, like, people know about this. It's a thing, and once you have that as a player, like, okay, I'm using an amp modeler, but in the effects loop, I run these analog pedals, and maybe that's given me a little something I can't get with the models that come with the unit. Not maybe, it is. Otherwise, I wouldn't go to all this trouble. So I split my signal. The Strat has a humbucker with a really low value capacitor. When I turn that all the way down, I get a Cocteau. I can get violin-like, really sweet lead tone. But mostly I'm playing cleaner amps like Vox AC30. So the idea with this, it has a battery pack inside of it. And there's this jack on this side. So I have this cable here, and that's not a power input. It's an output. So this is my pedal board. These 2 pedals here. This is a full tone, full drive 2. So the idea behind this is more of a full range boost. It's not just a treble boost. It does brighten it up, but it doesn't completely kill everything else. And this is a really good boost. The 83 TB is very good. Pairing it up with this has a bunch of different modes on it. You can get the fizz, that dirty gain, like a Boss DS1 when you turn the gain up. If you go in smooth mode with standard clipping, it's a distortion. And then you can turn it to an overdrive, like halfway, or a clean boost. If you set it on MOSFET with the HD clipping, the difference between this top toggle seems to me to be the difference between LED clippers versus diode. When you have the LED, that's rare. It's like a mod. The diode clipping is what you hear in all the distortions and overdrives. When you turn the gain up, it produces that distortion that we all know and love. The clipping, the compressed sound where it's that fizzy high end. And that's an essential part of rock and roll and metal. I'm going for more of these in-between tones. They're much more let the guitar's natural harmonics and the sound of the amplifier through. Although I do run high gain patches from time to time. And the boost works just as well on those sounds. It works really good. So this pedal is really versatile because you have the switching on it. You can go from I want sizzle to I don't want sizzle, and then there's an additional boost. That's what this is for. So basically the three knobs here are for the overdrive, which you have the capability to have it sizzly gain or clean gain. And then you've got this boost. So altogether, I can work this into 3 stages. Like one of the guitar players who I've seen perform live more than anybody was a guy that plays with stages. So he can start out clean and get a little bit more volume and a little bit more gain or compression or dirt as he's clicking pedals on. So this idea of stacking overdrives is really cool. I've seen Jimmy Page, if you watch Song Remains the Same, he's doing all that stuff. He's got a germanium, a tone bender, and he's just doing it with his volume control on his Strat and his tone on his Les Paul. Excuse me. He's getting levels of sizzle and volume and tone just by operating. And like I'm just starting to dip my toes into, like, I come from that school of everything is always wide open. Now the last few years I've been starting off with my guitar volume on 5 and my tones down on 5 or 7, you know. And I run my tone all the way off on 0 now. It's this Cocteau thing. I got a really low, like a 0.010 microfarad capacitor in my for the bridge pickup of the Strat. I have my Strat's wired goofy. It's like there's a larger value capacitor for the middle and the neck, and the bridge has the really low value, which someone told me, whatever you do, don't use that value. And I put it in there to see how far is too far, and it did this Cocteau thing, and I almost pooped my pants. It sounded so cool. Like I couldn't stop laughing. I was like, this is what I've been chasing. Like I saw this guy Roy Buchanan doing wah-wah effects with his telly, and I read that he used a real low value capacitor to be able to do that. So that's what I was chasing after. Anyway, I've got pictures. Do you guys want to take a look? We can pop over and I can talk more about this pedal. So here are the 2 lithium ion batteries. This is the switching PCB for the stop switch. Here's this light 'em up switch. Plastic jacks, because I had started off with metal and it looped through the ground and it made the bypass wiring inoperative. When I had the grounds hooked up through these grounded jacks where they ground through the chassis, you did not need to insert the jack for the power to come on. and I was like, oh my goodness, what did I do? And then I realized it's looping through the chassis. So I removed the jack, the input jack, and then I had a metal one over here and a plastic one there, and it just didn't look right. So yeah, I had to at the end of the day I had to bust out my step drill bits, and actually they were so long, if I didn't really look and be careful, I would have totally ripped this up. I had to use the fatter of the bit and be really careful and bore it out just enough, because the diameter of the metal jack was smaller than the plastic. Now over here, this is my flux. I have a hole drilled here and a hole drilled here, and this is a little spool of solder with a cup to throw. When I take things apart, I can throw the hard, like these screws should have been up there. That's a milk cap. But the solder runs through here and comes out here, so I can pull it, and I've always got solder on tap. And then this is a metal cup, and there's a pick that holds it in place. I can spin this out, and this way, all the wire cutoffs, like when I strip wire and have the little pieces, I can sweep that into this cup. These are magnets. These are rare earth magnets that are countersunk, and then this is a rear end of a potentiometer with some emergency flux. In case I don't have my flux on me, I always have a little bit here. So yeah, this is my workbench. It's got a lip on it, and then there's like this board. There's a dowel here, and there's a screw here to wrap solder around. So I can wrap it around and run it up here, and then I can just touch my soldering iron on there and grab some solder that way. But I had this board here, and I drilled a hole for the switch. And so I had to drill a hole here for the dowel and another little slot. So it ended up where I had to put a hole for the LED and a hole for the potentiometer. I kept having to modify this board, which the purpose of this was for elevation. Now I had a piece of paper tape down here, and then I had put JB Weld in here, and that leaked out, and I kept getting JB Weld contamination on the white paint for the whole rest of the job. So the message there is, don't do the JB Weld until the project is done. But I rushed it and put it in there right away. And the idea with the JB Weld was, when I was boring this hole for the switch, I kept doing it and doing it and doing it, trying not to go over. And then, of course, I did go over. So I solved that by the automotive epoxy, is what I did. You can see it in here. So yeah, I had different jacks on here. I had to extend all this stuff after I was finished. That's why it looks kind of sloppy in here. That's what this stuff is here. This was a lot neater. The first time around, I was so proud of this pedal. Oh my goodness. It looked so neat. And then I had to rip everything out because of my using the metal jacks. These are popsicle sticks that I use Elmer's glue and masking tape to build a standoff, to just put something in here to stabilize this, because it didn't really, the battery pack didn't fit quite right, and there's double-sided tape holding this battery pack in place. So these are 18650 lithium ion batteries. It's 8.4 volts coming out of here. It's not 9 volts, which is the equivalent of a 9-volt battery that's been in it for a couple months. And I like the chicken head knob. Here's my external power, because it powers the pedal sitting next to it. I don't know. Should I have went with a red LED? I probably should have. But this is blue here, so we got a theme going. It's a Greg Fryer treble boost. Great boost. Does not kill bass or mids. It's a BC239. So I'm going to look that up. BC239. It's a switching transistor. High frequency transistor for signal amplifiers. So yeah, I thought this was a it's a BJ. It's an NPN BJT. Exceptional what? Exceptional adaptability and performance in both linear and switching. So there you go. I for some reason I thought this was a MOSFET based circuit. And of course I used some hot glue on the LED. It does have a little plastic thingy in there, and I had to hollow that out with the solder. I had to melt that out because I ran little pieces of heat shrink tubing. You can see I like using those. I've got a few of them up in here. This PCB is for the switcher. I don't know where I got that. Usually I'll put flux on here and it causes all kinds of problems. You can't get the flux out from underneath, and it's conductive. So I've screwed myself time after time again doing that, and I did not do that this time. So yeah, the PCB I got from FuzzDog for this. He's a British guy, so he knows about the. I should have had some heat shrink on these too. That's pretty sloppy, but yeah, he knows about treble boosters because that's Brian May. All those British guitar players love Brian May, and Brian May loves treble boosters, and so do I. So that's the 83 TD. Like I said, I've got a Naga Viper. I've built silicon range masters. I've built germanium range masters with Mullard 950s. That's an NPN. It's not a PNP, and that's my favorite. It doesn't leak. That Mullard 950. Those are awesome transistors for a range master. I don't know why people don't do that. They build it with a PNP, and it's like then you got the reverse power supply, and it's just like, if you're going to have to pay for the transistor, pay for an NPN one. You know? So, I've tried quite a few different things, and through that, and I hate to say tone chasing, but through those experiences of the past couple of years, I realized with the treble boosters, there's the cons and the pros, and you have to take the good with the bad. If you're talking germanium, it's going to hiss. You know, you can get the NPN though, and then you don't have the powering issue. It's still going to be a little temperature sensitive, but the Mullard 950, it doesn't freak out with temperature. That being said, I'm talking like 80s. I'm not talking 90s or 95. So, ultimately, if you find yourself and you really have to have a silicon, the runoff groove Omega Boost, that's the one, not the Naga Viper. The Naga Viper is good, but it's not good like the runoff groove Omega. That's a JFET with a MOSFET, and that thing is awesome. That's an awesome boost. You could fool people. You could fool people. You could fool a range master guy with that circuit. Anyway, this thing is cool. I have to see, like, is it cool enough that I'm gonna stop using the double boost that I built myself, or the triple boost that I built myself, or one of my other boards. I've got all kinds of options on this. I think this is about the end of the road for me. Like, I'm looking at buying a 10 pack of 8 gauge strings and then being like, I'm washing my hands of this. all the other time and energy that I have for this hobby is going to go into songwriting and recording. And that's not to say that I didn't do that. I've done it. I've done an impressive amount of recording in my life. There's 20 discs, including the 3 with the family band, and counting the double albums as double albums. I've done 20 discs. And then all of the other music that I wrote, like there was 185 originals for the family band when we stopped doing that. And I would think that we're getting close to 150 now for the duo.
Probably. You probably could figure it out, too. You've got
I could. Yeah, I could.
Yeah.
I used to say, I know I've written over 500 pieces of music in my life. That's no longer true. We're coming up to 750 or 1,000 real quick here, which it's nothing to brag about when you're writing pieces of music that have two parts to it, and you're not playing a lead solo, and it's as unbelievably basic. Like if the requirements for a song are absolute minimum of like 3 notes, and so that I'm not trying to diminish. I'm just being realistic, and ultimately, I'm fine with that, I'm not trying to impress anybody except to do this to have fun. So it kind of doesn't really matter, If I can wow myself and go like, wow, I'm really impressed that's me, then great. But music should not be a competitive thing, and because of the fact that I'm male, it's like that for me. My initial reaction is like, and I think a lot of guys are like that. And me, I'm conscious of it, and I don't want to be like that. And when I see other musicians who are generous and kind and pure at heart, like a good example would be Vai. Steve Vai he's unbelievably talented. Now, maybe yes, maybe he's getting a little older. Maybe he might not be what he was when he was at his apex. But certainly his attitude, there's none of that mean-spirited competition, and there seemed to be that kind of was a thing in the 80s with shred guitar, and like that whole Eddie Van Halen looking at his hands and going like, whoa, like amazed. Me and my wife do that a lot, and it's really funny when we do it, because I'm only using 2 fingers to fret my instrument because of an accident, and she only uses 1. So it's just one of those things that when I look in the mirror, I don't want to see that in myself. I want to see someone who is generous, kind, not full of pride or false pride. And also it's like, how could I be competitive? Because I'm missing fingers. Who am I going to compete with? Other mutants? And I've seen guys who are like blow me out of the water, that have like unbelievable birth defect. There's a guy, this little guy, he's got like a little T-Rex arm. I don't know. I'm guessing he was born with this condition. I forget this guy's name. Hook 89. The guy plays with a hook, playing slide, and it's like He plays like hard rock, and it's phenomenal. And he's playing the leads. So I'm not with the guy playing with his feet, the Indian guy playing guitar with his feet. So it's like the human beings are incredibly resilient and unbelievably amazing. So the little bit that I've broken off and tried to chew on is it's nothing. And when they talk about humbling, well, if you never get out of control with your pride or your sense of self, your ego, you don't need to be humbled. You're already like humble, and that's what I'm striving for. I'm not perfect, but I also had this accident when I was really young, and that really quickly put a damper on any Hollywood hot tub nonsense, It also does truly break my heart. In a sense, it does. And I think, what would I have been had I not had that accident? Would I have been able to? And I think the answer is no. Quite frankly, I think what happened to me made me a better musician. I know that sounds like a cop-out, but that's how I feel about it. Anyway, you guys, this video wasn't supposed to be a big philosophical thing about my mental illness and my ego problems and how full of pride I am. But they all end up in the same place, don't they? In the toilet. I am proud of this thing. It's heavy. This is a solid one. It looks good inside. I don't think this one will break down. It'll power a buddy. This could power a few pedals actually. I just have to see. We will be playing some more remotes as the weather is getting. It's actually been too cold to go out, so we have to see. The last one. We went out with the smaller rig, but I was using my center channel amp, and I love that amp. I've never bonded with a piece of gear with an amp like that, and I absolutely love it. I love the best decision that I made was putting this Celestion, this Foxhall Road speaker in this little cabinet. So I don't know. I might want to take out. I have these Gauss 4821s. They're 400 watt. They're really heavy. And I've heard people say those speakers will cut a hole in concrete. That's what I heard people say about them. So I have to. I have to. Maybe what we could do is just load the car up with some guitar stuff and go to a remote spot and let it rip just for fun. I've got this Vailton GP5, which is just it's a really good sounding, a little $80 little thing, and it does it all. Does everything, amp modeling. So I could maybe that'll be something I could do rather than have to worry about road testing this stuff at a remote. So yeah, the 83 TB, it came out nice. I like this. The finish on it is really nice. It's a really nice finish. What kind of paint was that? Was it Rust-Oleum or was it?
It was that, I don't know. It was the,
Was it like primer and paint?
no, not the white. The blue was like that blue.
Yeah, the blue was awful. The blue orange peel.
Let me see what the white was.
The blue. I went back to hit it again a second time, and it had gotten chilly, so it was too cold, and it just totally and completely orange peeled. And my wife said, "It's the bottom." So I was like, "It's the bottom."
Oh, it's the same stuff. It's Color Place. It's right here. I'll bring it.
Color Place, huh?
Isn't this the stuff from like Walmart? This is from Walmart, right? Here, I'm showing you. It's all white.
This was the white that I used.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's this. So there you go. Look at the finish. Feel it.
Yeah, I felt it already.
That's really nice, isn't it? Anyway, guys, thank you for joining me on this one. I will talk to you soon. Hug your pets and peace.